The rain hammered down like it had a personal grudge, turning the fire escape into a slick trap of rust and regret. Benjamin slammed his fist against the door one last time, the echo swallowed by the storm, his birthday cake. Smuggled in from that overpriced bakery on Bleecker, now a soggy ruin at his feet. "Fuck you, New York," he muttered, voice cracking as the lock mocked him, unyielding as the ache in his chest that whispered he was utterly, irreversibly alone. He'd pictured this night 100 ways. Laughter echoing off exposed brick walls, candles flickering on the reclaimed wood table he'd salvaged from a Bushwick flea market. Maybe even a tentative kiss if the wine loosened the knots in his gut. But here he was, 30 years old, soaked to the bone, locked out of his own goddamn life by a faulty latch he'd meant to fix for months. That's when the door across the hall creaked open, spilling warm lamplight like an apology. Lucas stepped out, towel drying his damp curls, his faded Yankees tee clinging just enough to remind Ben why he'd spent too many nights staring at the ceiling, replaying their coffee runs in his head. "Ben? Jesus, man, what happened? You look like you wrestled a hurricane and lost." Benjamin straightened up, wiping rain from his eyes, but it was useless. The downpour blurred everything, including the sharp pang of embarrassment twisting in his ribs. Lucas hovered there in the threshold, his bare feet planted on the scuffed hardwood like he owned the whole crumbling pre-war building, which, in a way, he did. He'd been the super's unofficial right hand since moving in 6 months back, fixing leaks and charming the ancient Mrs. Kowalski downstairs with his easy grin. Ben had watched him from afar at first, nursing his morning black coffee on the stoop, stealing glances over the rim of his mug at the way Lucas's shoulders filled out a flannel shirt, broad and unpretentious, like he'd stepped out of some Brooklyn craft beer ad. Now, though up close and drenched, Ben felt exposed in a way that had nothing to do with the wet jeans chafing his thighs. "Birthday," he said, the word tasting bitter on his tongue. Turned the big 3-0, and the door jammed. Again. I was out grabbing cake, and boom, locked out like an idiot. Lucas's hazel eyes softened, scanning Ben from head to toe, lingering just a beat too long on the way his shirt plastered to his chest. "Shit, happy birthday. Come on. Get in here before you catch pneumonia or whatever rom-com bullshit happens to guys in the rain." He stepped aside, gesturing to his apartment. A mirror image of Ben's but warmer, cluttered with dog-eared paperbacks and a half-assembled IKEA bookshelf that screamed, "Trying too hard to adult." Ben hesitated, the fire escape groaning under his weight as thunder rumbled overhead. Pride prickled at the back of his neck. He wasn't some damsel in a Nora Ephron flick, but the alternative was calling a locksmith at midnight on a Sunday, shelling out $200 he didn't have after that freelance dry spell. "You sure?" "I don't want to." "Ben, you're shivering. Now." Lucas's tone brooked no argument, laced with that Midwestern lilt he'd never quite shaken, even after 2 years in the city. He grabbed Ben's elbow, steering him across the hall with a firmness that sent a traitorous spark up Ben's arm. Inside, the air smelled like fresh laundry and something savory. Garlic, maybe, simmering on the stove. Lucas's place was a revelation. String lights draped over the window frames cast a golden haze, softening the edges of the exposed pipes and peeling paint that plagued their floor. A record player spun low in the corner, Coltrane's saxophone weaving through the patter of rain on the pane, mournful and alive all at once. Ben peeled off his jacket, hanging it on the hook by the door, suddenly hyper-aware of the puddle forming at his feet. "Sit," Lucas ordered, tossing a towel his way. "I'll make tea. Or whiskey. Birthday rules, your call." "Whiskey?" Ben said without thinking, sinking onto the sagging couch that had seen better decades. The cushions enveloped him, and for a second, he closed his eyes, letting the exhaustion wash over him like the storm outside. 30. The age where friends started posting engagement pics on Instagram, where his mom back in Philly texted passive-aggressive reminders about grandkids. And him? Still chasing copywriting gigs that paid in exposure, still swiping left on apps that felt like auditions for heartbreak, still nursing a crush on the guy next door who probably thought of him as the quiet artist type, harmless, forgettable. Lucas returned with 2 tumblers, ice clinking softly, the amber liquid glowing under the lamp. He handed one over, their fingers brushing, electric, accidental, and settled on the coffee table across from Ben, elbows on knees, watching him with an intensity that made Ben's pulse stutter. "So, Spill, what's got you looking like the world's ending on your birthday?" Besides the door. Ben took a swig, the burn grounding him. "Everything, maybe. Work's a ghost town. My ex, Evan, texted congrats this morning like he didn't ghost me after I came out to my folks. And now this." He gestured vaguely at the hall, the invisible barrier. "Feels symbolic, you know? Locked out of my own life." Lucas nodded, slow, like he was filing it away. "Evan sounds like a prick. And hey, doors jam. It's not fate's middle finger. It's shitty maintenance." He leaned forward, voice dropping. "But for real, you're not locked out. Not from anything worth having." The words hung there, heavy with subtext Ben wasn't sure he dared unpack. Lucas had always been like this, flirty in that deniable way, compliments wrapped in bro code. Late-night pizza shares after Ben's gallery openings that went nowhere, shoulders bumping in the elevator, loaded silences when their eyes met over takeout containers. Ben had convinced himself it was nothing, that Lucas, ex-army, tattooed forearms from his barista days, the kind of guy who fixed bikes for fun, was straight as the Hudson. But tonight, with the whiskey warming his veins and the rain sealing them in, doubt flickered. They talked for hours, the conversation meandering like the East River. Lucas's stint in Afghanistan, the letters from his sister in Ohio that kept him sane. Ben's sketches of the skyline from his fire escape, dreams of illustrating children's books that didn't sugarcoat the messy parts of growing up queer. Laughter bubbled up, raw and real, chasing shadows from the corners. By the second pour, Ben's head buzzed, and when Lucas reached out to tuck a damp strand of hair behind his ear, casual, too casual, Ben's breath hitched. "You've got paint on your cheek?" Lucas murmured, thumb lingering to wipe it away. His touch was fire, tentative but sure, and Ben froze, heart hammering against his ribs. Then, as if the universe conspired, the record skipped to something slower, Billie Holiday's voice crooning about lovers and lost things. Lucas stood, extending a hand. "Dance with me? For your birthday." Ben's laugh was half disbelief. "Here? Now? Now?" Lucas pulled him up, close enough to feel the heat radiating off him, their bodies aligning in the dim light. No space for pretense, just the sway of hips and the press of chests. Ben's hand tentative on Lucas's waist, tracing the hem of his shirt where skin peeked out, warm and inviting. The world narrowed to this. The scratch of vinyl, the rhythm of breaths sinking, the unspoken question blooming between them. When their lips met, soft at first, testing, then hungry, it was like the storm breaking inside him. Lucas tasted like whiskey and want, his hands framing Ben's face with a gentleness that belied the strength in his grip. They stumbled back to the couch, a tangle of limbs and whispered names, the rain a distant applause. For the first time in years, Ben felt unlocked. Not just the door, but something deeper, raw and real. Morning crept in gray and forgiving, sunlight filtering through the blinds like a hesitant truce. Ben woke to the smell of coffee, Lucas's arm slung heavy across his waist, breath warm against his neck. Panic flickered. Had they really? But then Lucas stirred, pressing a lazy kiss to his shoulder. "Morning, birthday boy. You snore. You know that." Ben chuckled, turning to face him, the vulnerability from last night softened by the light in Lucas's eyes. "Worth it," he said, and meant it. They spent the day tangled in sheets, trading stories and touches, the locked door forgotten until evening, when Lucas grabbed his toolkit. "Can't have you sleeping on my couch forever," he teased, though his eyes said otherwise. With a few twists of a screwdriver, the latch gave way, clicking open like a confession. Ben stepped inside his apartment, heart full, pulling Lucas with him. "Stay?" he asked, voice small. Lucas grinned, kicking the door shut. "Try and make me leave." That night, candles finally lit, cake salvaged and shared with forks over the sink. Ben realized 30 wasn't an ending. It was this, a man who saw him, really saw him, and chose to walk him back in. But life in the city had a way of complicating simple joys. A week later, Ben's phone buzzed during a rare freelance win. A book cover gig for a queer memoir that paid actual rent money. It was Evan, his ex, the one with the jawline that could cut glass and a heart like wet cardboard. Heard you're seeing the neighbor. Careful, babe. He's got baggage. Ben deleted it, but the seed planted. Lucas had been cagey about his past, dodging questions about the tattoos snaking up his arm. A compass rose, barbed wire, dates etched in faded ink. Army stuff, he'd say, changing the subject with a kiss that melted doubts. Still, Ben pushed because love made fools of them all. One rainy Tuesday, over takeout ramen in Lucas's kitchen, he asked outright, "What happened over there? The scars. You wake up sometimes, yelling." Lucas's fork stilled, steam curling between them like a veil. His jaw tightened, eyes distant. PTSD, Ben. It's not a story with a bow. Lost friends. Made choices I can't unmake. He set the bowl down, voice rough. I came here to start over. With you, that's the point. Ben nodded, but the words echoed Evan's warning. Trust was a fragile thing, built on late nights and shared silences. But one crack could spiderweb through it all. The first fracture came subtle. A text Ben glimpsed on Lucas's phone during movie night. Miss you, Luce. When you coming back? For Mike? Mark? The name gnawed at him, irrational but insistent, as Lucas laughed at the screen, typing back quick before pocketing it. Who's that? Ben asked, casual as he could muster, pausing the flick. Lucas shrugged, too quick. Old buddy from the unit, checking in. But his smile didn't reach his eyes, and when he pulled Ben close, the kiss felt like deflection. Doubt festered. Ben scrolled old socials late at night, piecing together ghosts. Lucas tagged in photos from a life before Brooklyn, arm around a guy with laughing eyes, captions like brothers in arms. Were they, or something more? The city amplified insecurities, its neon pulse a reminder that everyone had secrets, everyone left. Then came the betrayal, sharp as a switchblade. Ben's birthday glow had faded into routine, grocery runs hand in hand, stolen moments in the stairwell. But 2 months in, Lucas started pulling away. Late shifts at the coffee shop turned into overnights helping a friend, and the bed grew cold. Ben confronted him one night, voice breaking in the hallway light. Is there someone else? Just say it. Lucas's face crumpled, but not in denial. Ben, it's not God, you're everything. But Mike, he's not just a buddy. We were. The words tumbled out, halting. Engaged, before I shipped out. He waited, but I came back. Different. Broken. I ended it, moved here to breathe. But he's struggling. Suicidal thoughts. I can't abandon him. The air sucked out of the hall. Betrayal, not of body, but of the half-truths Lucas had fed him. Start over with you, when part of him was still anchored elsewhere. Ben's chest caved. You lied. Every time you touched me, you were thinking of him? No. Lucas reached, desperate. It's you I want. But guilt. It doesn't switch off. Ben recoiled, the door to his apartment slamming like a guillotine. Locked out again, this time by choice, the echo of his own sobs the only sound in the dark. Days blurred into a gray haze, the kind that settled over Manhattan in late fall, turning the skyline into a watercolor smear. Benjamin threw himself into work, sketching feverishly until his fingers cramped. The queer memoir's cover evolving from hopeful abstracts to jagged lines that mirrored the fracture in his chest. His editor loved it. Raw Ben. Hits like a gut punch. But each compliment twisted the knife deeper. A reminder that pain birthed art. But at what cost? He avoided the hall, timing his comings and goings like a thief. But the building conspired against him. Mrs. Kowalski cornered him by the mailboxes one drizzly afternoon, her arthritic hands clutching a foil-wrapped babka like a peace offering. That nice boy next door, Lucas, he asks after you. Looks like a ghost himself. You two fighting? Over what, Men and their pride. Ben forced a smile, the pastry warm against his palm. Just space, Mrs. K. City's too small sometimes. She clucked her tongue, eyes sharp behind cat-eye glasses. Space is for stars, not hearts. Fix it or regret it. Her words lingered as he climbed the stairs, the babka uneaten on his counter. A symbol of sweetness turned stale. Lucas tried. God, did he try? Notes slipped under the door. Coffee? My treat. L texts at 2 a.m. Can't sleep. Thinking of that stupid dance. Miss your laugh. Ben read them in the glow of his phone, thumb hovering over reply, but always deleting, the wound too fresh. Betrayal wasn't the lie, he realized. It was the half-life Lucas offered, loving Ben while haunted by Mike's shadow. How could he compete with ghosts? Evan, of all people, became an unlikely lifeline. A DM turned lunch at a Soho cafe, where the ex nursed a latte with the same brooding charm that once hooked Ben. Heard about your neighbor drama, Evan said, smirking over his aviators. Told you baggage. But you're better than that. Remember Ibiza? Us, no strings, just sun and skin. Ben laughed, bitter. That was escape, not love. But Evan's hand on his knee under the table stirred old fires, a reminder of easier hurts. They fell into old patterns. Drinks after work, bodies colliding in Evan's loft with its view of the High Line. No promises, just release. It numbed the ache, but mornings brought clarity. Evan was a placeholder, a rebound wrapped in familiarity, his touches efficient but empty. One night, post-hookup haze, Ben's phone lit up with Lucas's name. A voicemail, voice rough with unshed tears. Ben, I ended it with Mike, for good. Told him I love you. Fuck, I do. Please, let me in. The words cracked something in Ben, a fissure widening to chasm. He deleted it, but sleep evaded, the ceiling a map of doubts. The climax brewed slow, then erupted on a crisp November evening, the kind where leaves skittered like secrets across Washington Square Park. Ben had dragged himself to an open mic at the bitter end, sketchpad in hand, seeking solace in strangers' verses. The air hummed with vulnerability, poets spilling guts about lost loves, fractured families, and Ben's pencil flew, capturing a drag queen mid-monologue, her sequins catching stage lights like fallen stars. He didn't see Lucas until intermission, standing at the bar with a beer, eyes locked on him across the dim room. The crowd parted like fate's cruel joke, drawing them together amid the murmur of applause. Ben, Lucas said, voice barely above the sax riff bleeding from the speakers. Up close, he looked wrecked, stubble shadowing his jaw, eyes ringed with fatigue, but the desperation in them was a mirror to Ben's own. What are you doing here? Ben's heart thundered, sketchpad clutched like a shield. Saw the flyer in the hall. Knew you'd come. Lucas stepped closer, the scent of him, cedar cologne and rain, hitting Ben like vertigo. I get it. The lies. I was scared of messing this up, of dragging you into my mess. But losing you? That's the real breakage. Ben's throat tightened, words warring with want. You can't just, Mike's your anchor. I'm the rebound. No. Lucas's hand found his, thumb tracing knuckles in a plea. Mike was duty. You're home. The word hung, electric, as the MC called the next act. A ballad about forbidden touches, voices intertwining like lovers' limbs. They slipped out into the night, the park a labyrinth of shadows and street lamps, benches slick with recent rain. Ben stopped under the arch, the marble cool against his back, confrontation spilling out. Show me, then. Prove it's not pity. Lucas didn't hesitate. He closed the distance, cupping Ben's face, kissing him with a ferocity that tasted of salt and second chances. It was messy, urgent, teeth clashing, hands fisting shirts, the world fading to the press of bodies against stone. Ben pushed back, demanding more, until they broke apart gasping, foreheads touching. Not here, Lucas whispered, voice wrecked. Come home. The walk back was torture. Hands linked, silence thick with anticipation. In the elevator, Ben pinned him against the wall, claiming his mouth until the ding forced separation. Flushed and undone. They tumbled into Ben's apartment. Their apartment now unspoken, the door locking with finality. Clothes shed in a trail to the bedroom. Skin on skin a revelation. Lucas mapped him with reverent hands, lips tracing collarbones, hips, the curve of his spine, whispering mine like a prayer. Ben arched under him, vulnerability stripped bare, every touch amending. When they came together, it was slow, deliberate, eyes locked, breaths shared. A climax not just of bodies, but souls colliding, shattering remnants of doubt. After, tangled in sheets that smelled of them, Lucas traced Ben's tattoos. A small rainbow flag inked on his wrist from a defiant college night. I called my sister today, he said softly. Told her about you, the real you. Ben's chest swelled, tears pricking. And, she said, about time, dummy. Bring him home for Thanksgiving. Lucas smiled, weary but true. If you'll have me. Ben pulled him closer, the rain tapping a lullaby on the window. Always. But peace was fleeting in a city that thrived on chaos. Whispers started, neighbors gossiping about the fairy boys, making up loudly enough to wake the floor. Evan's snide texts escalating to voicemails laced with venom. He's using you, Ben. I know his type. Then Mike arrived, unannounced, on a greyhound from Ohio, gaunt and wild-eyed, pounding on Lucas's door at dawn. Ben heard it from across the hall, the thud echoing like accusation. He cracked his door, peering out to see Lucas hauling Mike inside, voices low and heated. You can't just show up, I told you. I need you, Luce. Therapy's bullshit. You're my fix. Mike's plea cracked, raw, and Ben's stomach dropped. He retreated, door clicking shut, the sound a lock turning. Hours later, Lucas knocked, face ashen. He crashed on the couch. Just one night. Please, Ben. Trust me. Trust. The word soured now, Evan's poison seeping in. How many nights, Lucas? How many? Just one before it's us again. Lucas's eyes flashed hurt. This is what I was afraid of. You think I'm choosing him? Aren't you? Ben shot back, voice rising. The hall amplified it. Mrs. Kowalski's door creaking open a sliver. Silence stretched, taut as wire. Then Lucas deflated. I can't lose you both. He turned, disappearing into his apartment, the door shutting soft but final. Ben slid down the wall, knees to chest, the building's pulse mocking him. Pipes groaning, footsteps fading. Locked out once more, this time by his own fear, the birthday promise fracturing under the weight of reality. Winter clamped down on the village like a vice, frost etching fractals on window panes, turning breaths to ghosts in the morning chill. Benjamin buried himself in the memoir project, deadlines a merciful distraction, but the illustrations turned confessional. Pages of shadowed figures reaching through bars, hands outstretched but never quite connecting. His editor called it profound, but Ben knew truth. It was exorcism, bleeding hurt onto canvas. Evan circled like a shark, scenting blood. A gallery opening for emerging queer artists became their unintended reunion. Champagne flutes clinking amid abstract nudes and protest posters. The air thick with perfume and pretense. You look wrecked, babe, Evan murmured, sidling up with a flute in hand, his cologne overpowering as his ego. Neighbor boy finally show his colors? Ben sipped, the bubbles sharp on his tongue. None of your business. Evan's laugh was silk over steel. Everything about you is. Come on, let's blow this joint. My place, hot bath, no strings. His fingers grazed Ben's arm, familiar territory, and for a heartbeat, Ben wavered, the pull of easy numbness strong. But then the door swung open, admitting a gust of icy wind and Lucas, coat dusted with snow, eyes scanning the room like a man on a mission. He spotted them, freezing mid-stride, jaw clenching as Mike's shadow loomed unspoken between. No, Mike wasn't here, but his specter was, in the tension coiling Lucas's frame. Ben excused himself, weaving through the crowd, hearts pounding in tandem. They collided near the coat check, words tumbling before touches could. What are you doing here? Ben demanded, voice low, the hum of chatter a flimsy veil. Your show. Saw the invite on your fridge. Picked the lock to leave it, remember? Lucas's attempt at humor fell flat, his eyes pleading. I had to see you. Mike's gone back to Ohio with a real plan this time. Group therapy, the works. I'm free, Ben. We can be. The words ignited something fierce, but doubt doused it quick. Free? Or just between crises? Ben's voice cracked, drawing stares from a cluster of painters nearby. I can't be your safe harbor while you sail away every storm. Lucas flinched, reaching anyway. Then let me prove it. Dinner. Neutral ground. Please. Against better judgment, Ben agreed. The bistro on McDougal was a relic, checkered cloths, Chianti in wicker flasks, candlelight flickering like old movie reels. They sat in a corner booth, knees brushing under the table. The menu a blur of pastas and unspoken fears. Lucas ordered for them, carbonara for Ben, the comfort food from their first real date. And when the plates arrived, steaming and indulgent, he pushed one toward Ben with a tentative smile. Eat, and talk to me. No ghosts tonight. Ben twirled noodles, sauce rich on his tongue, the warmth seeping into bones chilled by isolation. Stories flowed halting. Ben's Philly childhood, hiding crushes on the quarterback behind sarcasm. Lucas's farm boy roots, coming out to a preacher dad who quoted Leviticus like scripture. Laughter crept in, tentative, then full, Lucas mimicking his sister's twang. Ben sketching caricatures on a napkin, exaggerating Lucas's perpetual bedhead. By dessert, tiramisu shared with 2 spoons, the air thickened, charged. Lucas's foot hooked Ben's ankle, an anchor in the storm. I love you, he said, simple, eyes steady. Not as escape, as choice. Ben's fork stilled, the words a bomb and a blade. I want to believe you. Then do. Lucas leaned across, kissing him soft, tasting of coffee and cream, the bistro fading to irrelevance. They walked home arm in arm, snow dusting shoulders like confetti, the city a silent witness. In Ben's apartment, barriers crumbled, kisses deepening, hands exploring with rediscovered hunger. Lucas knelt, reverent, taking Ben apart with mouth and fingers, gasps echoing off brick walls. Ben reciprocated, mapping scars with lips, turning pain to pleasure, their bodies a dialogue of forgiveness. Dawn found them sated, curled under quilts, Lucas's heartbeat a steady drum against Ben's ear. Thanksgiving, Lucas murmured. Ohio, meet the family? Ben's pulse quickened, terror and thrill entwined. Yeah, let's. But betrayal's echo lingered, a dissonant note. Mike texted Lucas the next week, a relapse report, 1 day at a time. Thanks for the push. Innocent, but Ben glimpsed it over breakfast, paranoia flaring. Still checking in? Lucas sighed, setting his mug down. As a friend. Boundaries. Ben. I swear. Trust wobbled, but Ben nodded, choosing faith. Work pulled him away. A week in Philly for the book's launch party. Schmoozing publishers amid cheesesteaks and nostalgia. The event buzzed. Readings from the memoir, raw excerpts on first loves and family rejections. Ben's cover lauded as iconic. Pride swelled. Texts to Lucas flying. Killed it. Wish you were here. Lucas's replies glowed. Proud of you. Hurry back. Missed that ass. Homecoming was bliss. Airport pickup. Lucas in a beanie and scarf, sweeping Ben into a kiss that drew whistles from cabbies. They tumbled into bed, jet lag forgotten, reaffirming promises in sweat-slicked sheets. Thanksgiving loomed, a gauntlet. The drive to Ohio was a revelation. Lucas's old truck rumbling down I-80, playlists of Springsteen and Patsy Cline, pit stops for diner pie. Ben's nerves jangled. Would they see him as the city boy corrupting their golden son? But Lucas squeezed his hand at every yield. They'll love you, because I do. The farmhouse was Norman Rockwell with a queer twist. Pumpkin pie cooling on sills, a pride flag discreetly pinned to the barn. Lucas's sister, Ellie, enveloped Ben in a hug reeking of cinnamon, her toddler niece tugging at his jeans. Finally, Luce wouldn't shut up about you. Dad, gruff, flannel-clad, clasped his shoulder, eyes crinkling. Welcome, son. Pass the gravy. Moments unfolded like gifts. Hayrides under star-pricked skies. Ellie grilling Ben on New York horrors. Subways? With rats? Lucas stealing kisses in the pantry amid flour dust. Dinner was a symphony. Turkey carved with toasts to absent friends. Mike's name unuttered but honored in a quiet grace. Ben spoke up, voice steady. To second chances. And the people who walk us through the doors. Eyes misted, forks paused. Lucas beamed, hand finding Ben's under the table. A vow sealed in starch and sentiment. The return to Brooklyn was bittersweet. Snow blanketing the village in hush. They decorated Ben's tree, Lucas untangling lights with mock curses. Ben stringing ornaments from thrift dives. Ornaments of them. A subway token from their first ride. A keychain from the bistro. Love felt solid. A foundation against the city's gales. Yet cracks spidered. A letter arrived for Lucas, certified. From Ohio. Ben handed it over, curiosity masked. But when Lucas's face paled, reading in the kitchen light, dread pooled. What is it? Lucas folded it slow. Mike, he overdosed. They're asking if I'll speak at the memorial. The air thinned, grief crashing like a wave. Ben reached, but Lucas pulled away, eyes distant. I should've. No. Ben's voice sharpened. Old wounds reopening. You did everything. This isn't on you. But Lucas spiraled. Nights pacing the fire escape. Cigarettes glowing like accusations. Ben followed once. Coat thrown over pajamas, the cold biting. Talk to me. I can't. Lucas crushed the butt under heel. He was my first love. And I left him to drown. Ben's heart fractured. You saved yourself. Us. But the words rang hollow against Lucas's silence. The memorial call came. A video tribute. Mike's family pleading for Lucas's voice. He agreed, voicemail to Ben terse. Going for the weekend. Need space. Space. The word that started it all. Ben packed a bag that night, crashing at Evans. Just a couch, he lied to himself. But loneliness is a siren. And Evans' arms were open. Whispers of I told you so blending with moans. Guilt gnawed, but so did the void. Lucas returned changed, hollowed, eyes shadowed by loss. He found Ben's note. Take your time. I love you. But the apartment felt empty. Ben's sketches untouched. The tree lights unplugged. December deepened. The holidays a glittering trap of tinsel and forced cheer. Benjamin moved through Brooklyn like a specter. Freelance gigs stacking but joy absent. Each illustration a stab at catharsis. Evan's loft became a revolving door. Nights of wine and distraction. Mornings laced with regret. But it was better than the echo of Lucas's absence. The hall a no man's land patrolled by memories. Mrs. Kowalski ambushed him again. This time with pierogies and pity. That boy mopes like a wet dog. You both fools. Love ain't a subway, you miss it. Next one's delayed. Her words stuck, burrowing as Ben shoveled snow from the stoop. Flakes catching in his lashes like unshed tears. Lucas, meanwhile, unraveled in solitude. The memorial had gutted him. Mike's sister clutching his hand. Photos of a younger them beaming from screens. Eulogies painting Lucas as the hero who got away. Guilt festered, a toxin. If I'd stayed. He threw himself into fixes. Leaky faucets for tenants, bike tune-ups at the shop. But nights brought dreams of sand and screams. Mike's face morphing into Ben's, accusing. A week before Christmas, he cracked. Drunk on eggnog-spiked cocoa, he pounded on Ben's door at midnight, snow crusting his boots. Ben, please. I fucked up. Ben opened, bleary-eyed. Evan's scent clinging like betrayal. Lucas. It's. No, listen. Lucas swayed, breath fogging the air. Mike's gone. And it's killing me, but losing you? That's the grave I'm digging myself. Tears tracked his cheeks, freezing in the cold. I pushed you away because I don't deserve this. You. But God. I want it. Ben's resolve wavered. The sight of Lucas raw, ruined. Undoing months of armor. You think I don't hurt? Seeing you choose ghosts over us? I didn't, Lucas choked. Come with me. To the grave. Say goodbye with me. The cemetery was a white shroud outside Cleveland, graves blanketed in fresh snow, pines whispering condolences. They drove in silence, Ben's hand on Lucas's thigh the only tether, radio humming carols that mocked their melancholy. At the site, simple stone, Michael Ray Harlan, beloved son. Lucas knelt, gloved hands tracing letters, sobs muffled in wool. Ben crouched beside, arm around shoulders, the cold seeping through coats. "He loved you enough to let you go," Ben said softly. "Honor that by living." Lucas turned, burying face in Ben's neck, grief pouring out in shudders. They stayed until numb, then drove to a roadside diner, pie and coffee steaming, words thawing the ice. Lucas confessed fragments. The proposal under Ohio stars, the letters from war that frayed their bond. Mike's decline a mirror to his own PTSD. "I ran because staying meant watching him fade. But with you it's light, Ben. You make me want to fight." Ben listened, heart aching but opening. "Then fight. For us." Back in the city, reconciliation bloomed tentative. New Year's Eve found them on the rooftop, illegally accessed, bottles of Veuve swiped from a bodega, fireworks blooming over the bridge like promises. Lucas pulled a small box from his pocket, velvet worn. "Not a ring. Not yet. But keys. To my place. Our place." Ben's laugh bubbled, tears salting the kiss that followed, champagne forgotten as they made love under stars. The city a symphony below. Spring unfurled gentle, cherry blossoms dusting the park like confetti from their recommitment. Ben's book launched to acclaim. Signings at books are magic, readers clutching copies with tear-streaked thanks. And Lucas was there, front row, pride radiating. They adopted a rescue mutt, Jasper, a scruffy terrier who claimed the couch's throne, his wagging tail a daily reminder of chaos tamed. But conflict simmered beneath external now. Ben's folks visited, Philly transplants gawking at subway rats. Dinner at their apartment a minefield. Dad's jokes veered homophobic, casual barbs about that lifestyle, Mom's smiles strained. Lucas bore it with grace, but Ben snapped over pie, fork clattering. "He's not that. He's mine." Silence fell heavy. Dad grumbled apologies later, over beers on the stoop, but the rift lingered, a reminder that love demanded defense, endless. Evan faded, a ghost text blocked, his toxicity a lesson learned. Work flourished, Ben's illustrations gracing magazine spreads, Lucas opening a bike co-op in Red Hook, teaching kids to pedal toward futures. Yet the ultimate storm brewed in Lucas's silence. Nightmares returned, worse post-memorial, waking him sweat-soaked, pushing Ben away in delirium. Therapy sessions multiplied, the mandated, then chosen. But progress was glacial, sessions spilling into arguments. "You're shutting me out again." "I'm trying," Lucas roared one night, voice echoing off walls. "But some doors don't unlock easy." Ben recoiled, the metaphor a slap. "Then maybe we're the ones locked out." The fight escalated, words weapons. Accusations of codependency, fears of abandonment. Ben stormed to the fire escape, rain lashing anew, history rhyming cruelly. Locked out, birthday echoes taunting. Lucas followed, drenched, pulling him back. "Don't. Not like this." They clung, soaked and sobbing, the storm a baptism. Couples therapy followed, a Brooklyn walk-up with tea-stained mugs and tough love. "Betrayal isn't the act," the counselor said, glasses perched. "It's the erosion of trust. Rebuild, brick by brick." They did, date nights at Coney Island, boardwalks creaking under summer feet. Volunteering at the center, mentoring queer youth with stories scarred but hopeful. Vulnerability became their vernacular. Lucas sharing war journals, Ben confessing imposter syndrome. Climax crested in August heat, a heat wave turning the city to sauna. Jasper sick, Parvo the vet said, nights in emergency waiting rooms, Ben holding Lucas as he broke. "Can't lose him too." They didn't. Jasper rallied, tail thumping weak but insistent. A small victory amid larger wars. Fall circled back, leaves turning, Ben's 31 looming. No locks this time. Just a party. Friends crammed into their merged apartment. Fairy lights and fairy cakes. Lucas pulled him aside mid-toast. Ring box trembling in palm. Marry me? Not perfect, but yours. Ben's yes was a sob. The room erupting. Love a roar. But humanism demanded nuance. No tidy bows. Lucas's PTSD ebbed and flowed. Ben's family mended slow. The city a grind of bills and biases. Yet in the quiet, morning coffees shared. Jasper snores, hands intertwined. They found grace. The wedding was a quiet rebellion. City Hall on a Tuesday. Witnesses Mrs. Kowalski and Ellie via Zoom. Vows exchanged under fluorescent hum. No tuxes, just jeans and chambray. Rings simple silver bands etched with compass points. Nodding to Lucas's ink. They honeymooned in the Catskills. Cabin by a lake. Days of fishing poles and fooling around. Nights of fireside truths. Back in Brooklyn, life layered on. Ben's graphic novel deal. Illustrations of queer icons reimagined. Stonewall saints with capes. Lucas's co-op thriving. Kids peddling pride parades on fixed-gear dreams. Jasper grew portly, chasing squirrels in Prospect Park. His barks a soundtrack to their rhythm. Challenges persisted, humanistic in their grit. Lucas's VA appointments unearthed landmines. Flashbacks triggered by sirens, arguments born of exhaustion. One night, post-fight, Ben found him on the fire escape, staring at the skyline like it held answers. I hate this part of me, Lucas whispered, voice raw. Ben joined him, blanket draped over shoulders. It's all of you, and I love the whole damn map. They sat, city breathing below, forgiveness a shared silence. Ben's family thawed gradual. Mom's visit with scrapbooks, Dad's gruff emails forwarding glad articles. A tentative proud of you, kid, after the wedding pics. Healing wasn't linear, but it crept, roots deepening. Betrayal's scar faded to silver, a reminder. Love wasn't absence of pain, but presence through it. Evan's shadow? A footnote? Blocked and forgotten. Mike's memory honored in small ways. A donation to vet suicide prevention. A tattoo on Lucas's wrist mirroring Ben's rainbow. To those we couldn't save. The humanistic heart pulsed in the everyday. Helping a tenant come out, her tears on their couch. Ben's book tour, Lucas wrote in with snacks and sarcasm. Holidays blended. Philly for Easter ham, Ohio for Buckeyes, tables groaning with stories swapped. 1 year on, Ben's birthday circled 32. No rain, just sun slanting through windows. Lucas blindfolded him, leading to the roof. Picnic spread, cake from Bleecker, chocolate, double layer, friends toasting from afar. To doors unlocked, Lucas said, pulling him close. Ben kissed him, slow and sure. To the man who walked me back in. Life unfolded, messy and magnificent. A baby via surrogate whispered in future tenses. Careers cresting. The city their canvas. Conflicts arose. Bills biting, biases barking. But they faced them tandem. Hands linked, hearts aligned. In the end, it wasn't grand gestures, but the quiet choice. To turn the key each dawn, stepping through together. Locked out once, but never again, home was him and he was home. For in America's vast tapestry, Brooklyn's grit, Ohio's heartland, Philly's pulse, they wove their thread, gay and unapologetic, romantic in resilience, dramatic in depth, emotional in every exhale. Human, holy.